So good day everyone, here we go again with a new lesson for today, which is all about the discourse theory. So before we continue, again, our last topics last week were what? So we have the cognitive, we have the behaviorist, and also we have the acculturation model. So before we continue with talking about everything about the discourse theory, let's first have the definitions. So what do we mean by discourse? So discourse is a conversation or text, a collection of texts or conversations, a shared way of talking or creating text or code, and codes, languages, ways of speaking of a topic. So what is discourse? So while it is used to be generally held that mere exposure to language is sufficient to set the child's language generating machinery in motion, it is now clear that in order for successful first language acquisition to take place, interaction rather than exposure is required in order for because children do not learn language from overhearing the conversation of others or from the listening to the radio, and must acquire it in the context of being spoken to. So what do we mean by this? So we mean is that first, what do we mean by discourse? So it is basically the combination of sentences, of words into sentences, then sentences into paragraphs, and that paragraphs into different kinds of codes. It can be written codes or spoken codes. So it is for conversational use. So discourse is basically that different combinations of sentences in order to what? To create language, to create messages. They're not just simple sentences with simple ideas or topics, but we have complex sentences. And according to this, so how is it connected in language acquisition? So it is connected to language acquisition because according to this, children do not learn or do not acquire language just by hearing, not only by listening to the people or to the things around them. They learn language or they acquire language because they are able to practice language. They learn because they speak, they try to speak, they try to practice the language. And since they try to practice, they will try to say, send messages, it is a form of discourse. So here we have the levels of language. So we start with knowing the different sounds, the a sound, ba sound, ska sound, f sound. Then next is morphology, word parts and meaning. So after the sounds, we learn to say words, to recognize words. And recognizing words, we also give it meaning. So what do we mean by dog? What do we mean by cat? What do we mean by bottle? And so on and so forth. Next is semantics. It is word meanings and using. So we have already the different meanings of words. So now we use those words. For example, mother give bottle. So what do I mean by that? Does our mother bottle? Do I mean that I want a bottle? My bottle is empty. There's a bottle, and so on and so forth. Next is syntax. So after having words, being able to combine few words, we're able to create complete sentences. Know the sentence structure, even though we haven't gone to school yet. Remember, we are able to speak Tagalog even in complete sentences, even if we haven't gone to school yet. So that's syntax. So speaking in complete sentences, like what I'm doing right now. Next is discourse. So we have multiple sentences such as paragraphs, stories, chapters, and books. So the final stage or level of language is discourse, being able to hold a conversation, to hold a message, an idea, not just simply stating it, then poof, it's gone. So like in the it's similar to the evolution of writing. Of course, we start with writing letters. Then those letters, combine them together, we got words. Combine those words, we got a sentence. Or let's say, let's go phrase first. Phrase, clause, then sentence. Then combine those sentences, we got a paragraph. Then those paragraph, we got chapters, volumes, then books. Okay, so it's similar to that. It's a slow evolution, slow stepping up stage by stage or level by level. Next, so if you still remember the different competencies concerned for the communicative competence, we have here linguistic, strategic, and intercultural or socio-cultural. And we have here additional 2 competencies. We got pragmatic and discourse competence. Overall, it is the different competencies needed to have communicative competence. So, as you can see, all 4, pragmatic, intercultural, strategic, and linguistic, are connected to discourse competence, because discourse competence is your ability, again, to communicate, to send ideas, messages, and hold it. Yeah. So here we go again with the 3 main competencies for communicative competence. And I hope you still remember what these 3 competencies mean and how are they connected to communicative competence. So next is discourse analysis. So what do we mean by this? So it is the analysis of the function of language. Remember, language is more than just a sentence level phenomenon. According to Cambridge Delta, the study of how the separate bits of language which makes up the discourse are connected in such a way that the discourse makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense, discourse analysis enables us to find out why. So, according to this, is that discourse is basically the bits of together, pieces of language, pieces of sentence joined together in order to create communication, in order for communication to appear. And, of course, it should appear in a way that the idea is understandable, or we can understand the idea, or it makes sense. That is discourse. But if there is, let's say, a misinterpretation or a missing signal, so we need to understand the reason of this language or this communication. So that's why we have discourse analysis. So again, discourse analysis analyzes the function of language. So why are we speaking? What's the purpose? What's my idea, or what's my target right now? Why am I talking right now? Why am I having this discourse with you? So what's my purpose? And remember, language is more than just a sentence level phenomenon. Like what the researcher said when we watched the video about Jenny, words are not language. Words alone are not language. They should have meaning. They should have purpose in order for it to become language, and also to become discourse. Okay. So the discourse theory proposes that in our daily activities, the way we speak and write is shaped by the structures of power in our society. And that because our society is defined by struggles and conflict, our discourses reflect and create conflicts. So according to this, remember, earlier it is said that we acquire language because we practice language. We practice saying what we hear. We don't just listen and poof, okay, I understand what it means. I know how to say it. I know how to use. No, it's trial and error. Okay, I listen. Oh, dog. What's a dog? Should I point at a fan? Call it a dog? Oh, that's not wrong. Okay, it's a trial and error, knowing the meaning. So according to this, the way we speak, the way we move, and our nonverbal gestures is part of discourse. It is part of language. It is nonverbal communication. And whatever our attitudes is also connected, or it is also affecting how we speak and how we write. And this is really true, depending on society or where you live at the moment. And this is really true. I don't know if you have friends or you know some students that are from Ibaba. Remember? Kalapan, Ibaba. And most of the time, people from Ibaba are very, let's say, matapang, mataray, mga ganon. Why? Because that's their environment. That's and we know that meron nga sinasabi na yung ibaba doon yung takbuhan ng mga magnanakaw sa palengke. So, see, that's the social standing of that place, or that's the social situation of that place. And those different factors are affecting the people, the residents there, in how they speak, how they react, or what's their attitude. Okay. So, that is discourse theory. Meaning to say, our daily activities, everything we do affects our speaking ability or our language acquisition. The idea that language learning evolves out of learning how to carry on conversations. So, the idea of discourse is that learning a language is all about us trying to learn how to communicate with other people. What do you mean by this? We try to learn how we can talk with other people without hurting them, without ruining their fun, without what else? Without offending them, and so on and so forth. So that's, according to this theory, that's how we learn language, by practicing it in a way that we are able to communicate, express ourselves with other people. It follows from a theory of language use, in which communication is treated as the matrix of linguistic knowledge. That language development should be considered in terms of how the learner discovers the potential meaning of language as he participates in communication. So if you still remember the cognitive theory, so according to the cognitive theory, so the mind develops first before language acquisition. So it is somewhat similar to that. I say somewhat similar to that because language acquisition develops, or language acquisition happens because we try to grow, we try to develop ourselves in what? In being able to communicate, to express ourselves, to talk with other people. So that's discourse theory. So according to this, communication is treated as the matrix of linguistic knowledge. It is treated as the tool in order to show your linguistic knowledge. See that the language development should be considered in terms of how the learner discovers the potential meaning of language. So for us, learning a language is also us learning how much or how important or how powerful language could be in our lives. Remember, spoken or non-spoken language are very impactful in our lives. For example, you stayed quiet. We have the saying silence means yes, but sometimes, depends on the situation, when we stay silent, we may have a different meaning. It is language, non-verbal communication, non-verbal language. But still, that is potential of language. We can show meaning without saying anything. So, that is discourse theory. So, first language acquisition is related to discourse theory. According to Halliday, 1975, studied his own child and concluded that the development of formal linguistic devices grows out of the interpersonal use says to which language is put. So according to Halliday, he studied his own child. And in his study, the development of linguistic devices. So these linguistic devices could be, example, telephones, pen and paper, and other forms to help our language capability grows. But it grows after. The word is after. It only grows because the child is already practicing the language into a interpersonal concept. When we say interpersonal, it is not talking to himself. It is talking with other people. Remember, inter. Ano? Okay. As Sherry 1979 puts it, through communicating with other people, not oneself, children accomplish actions in the world and develop the rules of language structure and use. And this is correct in first language acquisition. Again, I'm going to say that we learn how to speak in Tagalog complete sentences even though we haven't gone to school. And there are many people, examples too. There are some people that haven't gone to school at all. They haven't even experienced kinder or they haven't even experienced grade 1. But they are able to speak fluently in the mother tongue language. Even though they haven't studied at all. Yes, they don't know second language. Yes, they don't know English. But they are able to communicate normally. Speaking normally. So, how? So, they acquire language by communicating with other people, by practicing this language. And by practicing this language, they are unconsciously, they do not know, but they are also learning the rules of language structure. Where to put the subject, where to put the verb, where to put the object, where to put the predicate in the sentence before saying it. So on and so on. So the main principles of the discourse theory. So second language follows a natural route in syntactical development. So what do we mean by this? So it follows a natural route. So second language acquisition followed a universal route in syntactical development, largely uninfluenced by learner's age, context of learning, learners of language, first language background. So according to this, we learn second language naturally. But even though there is a universal route for us to learn language, it has many such as schooling. Okay. And it is not influenced by age, context of learning, and our background in our mother tongue. Meaning, according to this, let's say universal route, schooling. When you go to school, it does not matter what is your age, how good or how poetic you are in the mother tongue, and what's your purpose of learning. Once you gone to this universal route, once you have followed this route, you will learn second language, or you will undergo second language acquisition. So, what is the only controlling factor? So, it is faculty for language that all human beings possesses and which is also responsible for first language acquisition. So when we say faculty for language, it is the different people that are connected in teaching you the language. So that is the only controlling factor, and that is true. I believe I told you a story of one of my classmates saying the word vague as vogue. And that is because one of her teachers, or I don't remember if teacher or a person in her life, pronounces it as vogue. So it affected her learning that proper pronunciation. So, how did researchers know that there was this natural route in learning the second language? So, they created two studies. One is cross-sectional and one is longitudinal studies. So, during the cross-sectional research, morpheme studies were carried out to investigate the order of range of grammatical functions in the speech of second language learners. And according to them, standard order reported was different from the order morpheme acquisition for first language acquisition. Next is longitudinal studies. So in these studies, they tried to account for the gradual growth of competence in terms of the strategies learned by second language learners at different development points. And according to longitudinal studies, all learners pass through. So they experience and they accomplish these stages. So they learn basic syntax, they learn variant word order, they learn morphological development, and they learn complex sentence structure of second language. All of them, so all students, regardless of age and regardless of development points. That's why we have natural. So it will come as long as you're exposed and you are using the second that language you're trying to learn, or you're trying to use that language even though it's second language. And according to this theory, discourse theory, since you are trying to use it to communicate, you will learn and naturally. So that's why we have the first principle. Next principle, so native speakers adjust their speech in order to negotiate meaning. Okay, time first. Water break. So, this principle emphasizes interaction and discourse, characterized by modifications in both input and discourse. So what do we mean by this second principle? So native speakers adjust their speech in order to negotiate meaning. For example, again, our second language is English. Let's say we are talking with an American person or an American or British person. They're both using English as their native language. Okay. So, they, as native speakers, they know that we are just using English as our second language. And since they know that, they adjust. They try to, let's say, slow down, speak clearly, wait for our turn, in order for us to have what? To have communication, for us to understand each other. So that's why it emphasizes interaction, the way we communicate, the way we interact with native speakers, and discourse, the communication itself. So it characterized by the modification in both input, so what are they saying first, and discourse, what is the conversation becoming. So in the input, it can be modified how? So it can have exaggerated enunciation, greater overall language or loudness, sorry, the use of full forms rather than contractions. For example, yan, exaggerated enunciation. So, exaggerated pronunciations, greater overall loudness. So, maybe the native speakers are speaking loudly for us to understand them, or using the full forms rather than contradictions. For example, DepEd, rather than a native speaker saying DepEd, because we may not understand them, they will say Department of Education. Okay. So discourse. So the communication, it also will be modified. How so? Can have expansions, more explanations, repetitions, so repeating the word that they have said, classification, so let's say, okay, so this is the first part, second part, less important, more important, so on and so forth. Paraphrasing, teachers do this. When students do not understand a question, paraphrase. Do not understand, let's say, the student will say, "Sir, I do not understand. Can you speak in Tagalog?" Oh, so the student did not understand what you said in English. So paraphrase. Say it in simpler terms. Okay. And topic simplification. So it's similar to paraphrasing. So make it simple. So the reply or the conversation turns into much simpler format. So in the discourse, what's the role of the native speaker? So to enable the non-native speaker to communicate. And how are they able to communicate? So they should be able to understand. And how should the non-native speaker understand? So the native speaker will say in a way that they may have a loud voice, they may use full forms, or may have proper or exaggerated enunciations. While the role of the non-native speakers is to use various strategies in the negotiation of meaning. So there are various strategies. Again, with the discourse, so let's say the native speaker did not say what we said to them, so we may repeat, we may paraphrase, use other words, other terms, or give much more explanations, expansions, or also use non-verbal communication. There are so many strategies naman. So we have here example. So together, the native speaker and non-native speaker strive to overcome the communicative difficulties, which are always likely to arise as a result of the learner's limited second language sources. So no one is perfect. And if we are speaking with the native speaker and their language is only our second language, like English. So here's the example. So we have here President Obama, the native speaker of English, and we have here, let's say, non-native speaker. So he is using his different strategies, his different tools in order to communicate much better. So let's say we don't know who this person is. So let's say that he's a translator, or this person is asking tips, asking more details in order for him to be able to explain much more and much better what he's going to say to President Obama. And according to this flag, let's say I think he's Chinese or some sort. Okay. So the third principle, it is that conversational strategies used to negotiate meaning and the resulting adjusted input. So we have different strategies nga, di ba? So here's the first strategy. The learner learns the grammar of the second language in the same order as the frequency order of the various features in the input. Simply put, the first structures that the second language learner acquires are those that she or he is exposed to most frequently. So what do we mean by this? For example, you're always communicating with a native speaker of a language. And when that person is talking to you, his sentence structure is, let's say, STVDOIO. Subject, verb, subject is transitive verb, STVDO, direct object, and indirect object. He's always talking in that sentence structure. And let's say you still don't know that sentence structure. So since you're exposed to that structure, so when you learn a second language, so you will speak in that order as well. Why? Because you are so used to hearing that order that you are also able to copy it. So that's the first one. So second one, the learner acquires commonly occurring formulas and then later analyzes this into their component parts. So we, the learners, learning the different formats, yung STVDOIO, STVIO, SV, and so on and so forth, the different formats of sentence structure. So we learn the common only with by talking with other people. So let's say you have talked to 10 people and those 10 people are always talking to you using at least 3 formats of talking. Let's say STVDO, STVDOIO, and SV only. So you learn second language by analyzing these 3 formats and learning each part of the formats. So let's say, what do you mean by IO? What's the IO and so on and so forth? What's the DO and so on and so forth? What's the S and so on and so forth? Next, so the learner is helped to construct sentences vertically. Learner utterances are constructed by borrowing chunks of speech from the preceding discourse. So, you are talking with the native speaker. So, you are trying to learn or you are trying to communicate with that native speaker. And you are learning second language. How? By also using their words. For example, they use the word what's up or what's up. So you're going to use that word in order for you to communicate with them. So you might say what's up as well. Yeah. From the preceding discourse or from the preceding communication. Okay. So next principle. So we have the natural route or route is the result of learning how to hold conversations. This is the strongest claim for the role of interaction or the discourse theory in second language acquisition. So again, the first principle, the natural route. So the natural route is us talking with other people, okay? Is the result of learning how to hold conversation. It is the result of us, non-native speakers, learning to have a continuous conversation with native speakers. And what do we mean by conversation? It is a mode of discourse. Again, discourse, different codes. Can be paragraphs, sentences, books, or conversation. So, conversations are cooperative ventures according to Hatch and Long. So, rules of conversation. So, attention getting, topic nomination, topic development, topic shifting, and topic termination. So, attention getting. So, of course, in order for you to have a conversation with someone, so you need to get their attention. So, like here, the picture, yes, that's very attention getting. Imagine that you're going to, you just went to class. You entered the classroom. Then the professor is already there. His first words are, okay, class, solve this problem. So you haven't looked at the board yet. But once you look at the board, you see this large equation that you need to solve. Boom! The teacher got your attention already. And he will teach you how to solve that problem. So have the attention of the hearer or the audience. Attention-getting conventions within each language, verbal and non-verbal, need to be carefully assimilated by learners. So assimilated, so we need to be able to know or mix, blend both verbal and non-verbal communications. For verbal, so let's say speak loudly, speak clearly, and so on and so forth. For non-verbal, see, silence has a message. The silent secret of body talk. So understanding what your body language is saying, read other people's body language, and know what they're really saying. In a conversation, only 35% are verbal. And all of it are non-verbal. So like what I'm doing right now. I don't know if you see this in my camera, but when I'm speaking, even though I know that this is a recording and you may look at it at your own leisure, I'm still speaking as if you're here in front of me. I'm moving my hands. And this is my non-verbal communication. Because non-verbal communication gives more deeper messages rather than verbal communication. Like when crying, I don't remember if it's from the right or from the left eye, but there is a study that says that if you cried and your first tears came out from, I don't know, left or right, it means tears of joy. And of course, the other side, tears of sadness. So you did not say anything, but you cried, simply cried, but it has a deeper meaning. And of course, the different hand gestures. Perfect, thumbs up, thumbs, I don't know the fig. So, different situations, different countries have some different cultures and traditions, making some gestures different meanings as well. And as speakers, we must know their meanings for us to have a discourse that makes sense, because you may send a different signal. For example, in the perfect, so commonly means everything's all right. But in France, it means worthless, walang kwenta. In Japan, it means money. In Germany, it means rude. You are rude. In Malta, Greece, and Brazil, it means obscene. And if you don't know what obscene means, it means malaswa, nakakarumay-dumay. Yan. Thumbs up. Commonly, for almost all countries, including the Philippines, it means okay. But in Australia and Iran, it means rude. Nigeria, very offensive, very insulting or so forth. Japan, 5. Turkey, political, rightist party. The hand, the stop sign. Commonly, stop. In Turkey, you get nothing from me. With Africa, you have 5 fathers. So before we continue with the fig, let's just first go with that, the Turkey. See, you're just having one hand gesture. You're just showing your palm. But it already means a whole sentence. You get nothing from me. See? Next, the fig. So in Turkey, Greece, Tunisia, and Holland, it means obscene. In Russia, you get nothing from me. In Yugoslavia, you can't have it. In Brazil, good luck. Good luck. Yeah. So as you can see, different meanings. So we need to be able to know their meanings. And this is part of attention getting because of course, if you put your hand, you want to stop a person. You want to get their attention. Oh, wait, I have something to tell to you. Wait, I have something to tell to you. The problem is, if you don't know the message or if you're in the wrong place, you will have a wrong message. You will have a different discourse already. Okay. Next, topic nomination. So H.P. Grice noted that certain conversational maxims enable the speaker to nominate and maintain a topic of conversation. So there are different maxims or there are different rules for us to pick. Let's say we already started, we're already conversating, or we're already having a conversation with someone. How will we pick and how will we maintain that idea or that topic? So, in topic nomination, how can we maintain the topic is saying only what is true, saying only what is relevant, saying only as much as necessary, and be clear. Or in simple words, the quality, the relevance, the quantity, and the manner. And this is true. Topic nomination, being clear. You said something and it, like what happened earlier, there was a delivery. The name was Vuo Express, and I did not heard it clearly. The delivery boy. I called my mother saying it was Bicol Express. So, being clear, see, there was already a different topic. I thought it was about food, but it was a different delivery. Next, quantity. Say only as much as necessary. So, you're talking with someone. Let's say, let's say you're talking about your favorite cake. Okay, let's say you're talking about your favorite cake. And there's one person in your group that said suddenly, "Oh, I don't like eating the top part because it's blah blah blah." Then the others will react, "Oh, yes, I also, I also don't like eating that part." Then someone will say, "I also don't like, I like that part, but I don't like this part. How about you guys?" And so, the first topic about cakes is gone. We already have a different topic. Why? Because someone said something too much. He was giving too much information. And it is also connected to say something only relevant. So, basically, that's why we have the saying, don't beat around the bush. Straight to the point. Be direct. So already, just say what you want. Don't sugarcoat it. Kasi, ang gandang-ganda mo man din. Ang ganda mo ngayon man din, miss. Blah, 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 blah. Pwede kang pautang. Nye. So, not that. You're just wasting time. You're just having different topics. So, only say what you really needed or what you really need to say. And of course, say only what is true because when you are lying, you will always forget what you said when you're lying. So, meaning to say, you will have different topics or you will have different conversations. But if you're saying what's true, since it is true, you know, and you will remember it. So next, topic development. So you have already gotten the attention of your audience. You already started talking to each other to the point that you know what's your topic. You're having a discourse already. So how can you develop your topic? How can you get more information on that topic. So use conventions of turn-taking to accomplish various functions of language. It involves 4 steps: clarification, shifting, avoidance, and interruptions. First is clarifications. So in the topic development, you're having a discourse, you're having conversation with someone, and so if there's something you did not understand and you want to understand, so of course you need to ask again, what's that? Or let's say you're having a discussion, you're having a brainstorming, and your partner suddenly wants to do something, and you agreed, but you wanted to clarify first. Okay. So I'm going to do this, right? Oh, so you're clarifying something. Next, shifting. So of course, in a communication, we have the sender of the message and the receiver of the message. When that receiver receives the message, he analyzes and constructs his own message. So the receiver is now going to become the sender, and the sender earlier will become the receiver. So shifting. You already said your part. You want to know the part of others. So give them the spotlight or give them the chance to speak. Don't be one-sided. Don't take control of the whole conversation, because you might miss some informations that they know. Okay? Next, avoidance. So this is part in every kind of conversation. You cannot please anyone. That is true. And in a conversation, there will be some parts that you will not like. So you will be avoiding those parts. You will not listen to those parts. And of course, if you don't agree with those parts, you will try to interrupt. So, in a conversation, you also need to interrupt them if you do not agree, in order for you to have a conclusion with the person you're speaking with. Oh, wait. I don't agree with your idea. Why? Oh, speak again. So you will have again conversation, you will have again discourse. This is also important because, again, shifting. Don't let anyone take control of the conversation. Next is the last one, I think. No, not yet the last one. Huh? Basta. Topic termination. Of course, you're done. How will you end the topic? So, an art that even native speakers of a language have difficulty in mastering. Each language has verbal and non-verbal signals for termination. So, even masters or the native speakers of a language have a hard time for this last part. Why? Because it is hard to stop a conversation once it has gone and started. And this is really true even in chats. I don't know for you guys, but for me, I have a hard time trying to stop a chat because I feel like it's rude not to reply back. So, in verbal and non-verbal, there are different signals. Let's say, we have here the different non-verbal signals, the different body postures, meaning that I'm not interested anymore, I want to stop, something is getting my attention already, and so on and so forth. So why do we need to learn these rules of conversation? It is for us to encourage interaction among learners. We are encouraging for the learners to learn how to communicate with native speakers. Why? Because as one learns how to do a conversation, to talk with native speakers, to talk with others, one learns how to interact verbally. Out of this interaction, they're able to develop syntactic structures. Yes, that's why we have that saying, practice makes perfect. We learn structures even though we don't learn it from books. We learn it from others. And that is true. There are things that are much easier to learn from experience rather than studying from a book. Example, how will you learn to ride a bike? Will you learn the different theories of balance, momentum, speed, so on and so forth, pivot, cycling and so on and so forth? Or you just get a bike, hop on the bike, try the pedal, and try riding a bike. So of course, try riding a bike is much easier rather than studying the different theories of how to ride a bike. And that's similar in learning the structures or syntactic structures of a language. It's much easier to learn by having a conversation with the native speaker of that language. That's why be aware of the different rules of conversation. You will not be able to learn in a conversation if you really are not having a conversation. A conversation is a communication and understanding between at least two people. Unless you are a crazy person talking with yourself. Okay. So what's the goal? For us to be able to create situations that will allow interaction and communication. Since with these two, interaction and communication, we have discourse, and according to the discourse theory, that discourse will help us learn language acquisition. So bottom line, for a child to learn a second language, allow her or him to engage or participate in meaningful communication. Not just gibberish, but meaningful communication. In conclusion, Schumann and Gills are interested in explaining the rate of second language acquisition and the level of proficiency achieved. Hatch is interested in explaining how second language acquisition takes place. The discourse theory does not address the nature of the learner's strategies responsible for second language acquisition. So in overall, the discourse theory, even though it stated that communication is the key, not for getting orders, but in learning second language, it still does not explain the responsibility or how the different strategies help in learning second language. So when Hatch talk of processes, she means external, so outside processes. Those which can be observed in face-to-face interaction, not internal processes. Those that can only be inferred by observing how learners perform. So that's all for today. So I hope you learned many things from the discourse theory. And again, have a good day and thank you for watching.